We've had a chance to examine and then show you how to configure the SX10 via web page. Now we're going to show you how to configure the Cisco SX10 TelePresence TC endpoint using Telnet or SSH, which is encrypted Telnet. This is a former Tandberg product, and so it has a different operating system than Unified Communication Manager or any of the other Cisco Linux-based operating systems. So if you're used to configuring those, this is a whole new ballgame. The first thing that we need to do is enable Telnet. So we're going to do that through the web browser. We're signed in to the SX10, and then we're going to go to Setup, Configuration, and then from here we're going to choose Network Services. We've got the option of setting Telnet to on. We can also set SSH. If we scroll down further, we should find the SSH. We can set that mode to on as well, and now we'll be able to use either protocol to connect to the SX10, and that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to use Telnet to connect because it's simple, it's easy, I'm used to it. But in your environment, you want to make sure that you use the appropriate protocol. You might have a rule that says you have to use SSH so that all traffic between you and the device that you're configuring is protected. We're going to sign in with our admin account. Then we get a welcome message, and that's it. We just have a prompt. So we're going to need to know what commands we want to enter at this point because we're not given a lot of guidance. Fortunately, Cisco has a command reference guide that we can download and use, and that's great because, frankly, I wouldn't know what to do without it. I wouldn't even know where to start with this operating system. This is the SX10 reference guide that's available to download from Cisco, and it gives us a list of the different commands that are available. We've got X configuration, X command, X status, and this is how we're going to interact with our SX10. This guide is loaded with commands, and we simply would go through and perhaps we want to look at the status of something. Well, we can use the guide, find the command that interests us, and then select it, and the guide will take us to that command. When I see commands that are useful, I'll copy them, paste them into my notes, and then I've got them. Eventually, you'll have a pretty useful document. So we're going to start with the X status cameras camera command. We'll paste that in. And it shows us our capabilities for the PTZF options, and that's going to be pan, tilt, zoom, and focus. It gives us their settings, and that can help us determine how that camera is currently positioned. We can use the command X status network, and that's going to show us the network status, our IP address, our MAC address, our default gateway, what voice VLAN we're in. So we can use the Telnet session to quickly ascertain information. In addition to gathering information, we can also make changes. We can configure the camera. We can mute the microphone. We can do anything with the SX10 using these X commands in Telnet. So if you download the reference guide and you spend some time working with the commands, you'll find out which ones work best for you. And you'll be able to add that to your growing repertoire for managing collaboration endpoints. Before we go configure the SX10 to register to our Unified Communication Manager, we're going to take a look at some things that you're going to want to remember. Here's an example of the X status cameras camera command. And as we can see, we're given this information and we're going to be expected to be able to read it and decipher it. So what exactly is it showing us? Well, the position tilt, that's the one that we've got highlighted. That value indicates whether the camera is pointed up or down. If the value is negative, then the camera's tilted down. If the value is positive, as it is here, then we know that that camera is pointed up. The position pan value, that indicates whether the camera is pointed to the left or to the right. If the value is negative, it's pointed to the left. If it's positive, it's pointed to the right. We have a value here of 334. That means this camera is pointing to the right. And then finally, the flip value. This indicates whether the camera can be flipped vertically, not horizontally. You can configure the flip value to have a value of on, auto, or off. If it's set to auto, the image will automatically flip if the camera is positioned upside down. And I can personally attest to that flip feature working. I recently deployed an SX10 and I had to turn it upside down so that it would fit where I had set it up. And I was worried that when I turned it on and presented that I'd be upside down. Mr. Instructor Dude, what you're saying is really interesting and all, but why are you upside down? That would have been a disaster. But fortunately, the feature worked and everything was fine. Being able to decipher the different position numbers in the X status cameras command is just another component that you're going to want to remember. Coming up next, we're going to demonstrate how to register the SX10 to the Unified Communication Manager cluster.